I know that's got to be hard.
So I'm happy that you're finally here in this room with us because I feel like we have to trap him like a ghost in Ghostbusters.
He's been begging to get in
to
here.
try and get. Well, not only that, he's always out and about. He's always doing stuff out of his office, and then his office is on the other side of the building.
He's using reverse psychology on you.
So I'm like, get in here.
I don't want to be on your podcast.
Well, I'm just glad that somebody's happy that I'm here.
I am. I'm thrilled.
We are very entertained by you being in here, and we're glad you gave up a career in stand-up comedy to be here at the Bay County
he's not
Sheriff's
that funny.
Office.
He's got stripes, so we got to laugh.
I don't care. I think it's hilarious. Andy James, Sergeant. Excuse me, Andy James of the Civil Division of the Bay County Sheriff's Office. How long you been here?
I've been here since 2010. I've been in the Civil Division for the last 4 years.
So you're beginning to get a grip on what's going on Civil.
When I switched,
and that's not a criticism.
No.
That's true.
And when I switched to the Civil Division from the road, I thought I was just going to come in and serve subpoenas and stuff.
Yeah.
You had no idea.
There was so much more to it.
Now you know why you were the only one that applied.
Yeah, right.
So when it comes to the Civil Division, what is it? Because I've been here for 2 years. I have no idea what's going on with you guys. So
explain.
The Civil Division, we serve all court process. All the paperwork that comes through the courts, whether they be court orders, subpoenas, depositions, they got divorce papers, small claims cases, lawsuits, corporate lawsuits, evictions, child support, and all that stuff has to go through the sheriff to be served.
Got it.
So anything from the Supreme Court, the district courts, Court of Appeals, the circuit courts, county courts, and the county commissioners is all directed to the sheriff to be served.
So we're basically the middleman when it comes to that.
Yes.
That's a lot of papers.
So, and
that's just pouring in.
Right. All the time.
And so you have...
That doesn't count out of state, out of county. It's any paper directed
to someone here in Bay County,
Has
wherever they live,
right.
City, whatever, you have to go in there. So you're not just like a patrol deputy is in the unincorporated, basically in the unincorporated areas of the county, but you're going everywhere.
The sheriff is the only one that can serve court process in Bay County.
Now you have how many people working for you?
We have 7 right now.
Right.
We have 6,
seven.
Yes,
Seven
we're
humans.
short one right now. Yes.
So
God. We have 7 deputies and a civil process server that work the road.
And you have clerks that are
we have 4 clerks.
Yes,
they process all day, and one of those can also serve. So they serve some subpoenas, but they can only serve non-enforceable.
Because when the paper comes in, you have to do your magic, and then it's got to be processed back to the courts. Correct?
Yeah. It has to have a date and time that it was received, and it has to be processed, and then a date and time when it was served.
Right.
And then it has to go back to the court, and usually all within a certain time frame.
So we're talking every single court order from the county, every single court order from that's out of state coming into this county. About what numbers are we talking here?
Last year we had 11,400 and some change.
I regret asking that question.
Oh my gosh!
And that's between just us. And, fortunately, patrol helps us a lot with some of the domestic violence and
injunctions, which is restraining orders.
Is a restraining order. So we get a lot of help with them. Yeah, the deputies can serve anything that we can serve.
Okay.
But it all has to go through us, so we serve it all.
Right.
But on certain enforceables, we enlist their help to help us out.
Okay.
I think the big difference between having a civil deputy and a road deputy serve is the knowledge as well, because y'all do this for this Civil Division is your division. You guys do this for a living, so you have to have a deep knowledge of what you're serving.
Right, and there's a lot to it. Every paper's different. You have to read them. You have to know the contents of it so you can serve them properly. So, each paper has different instructions in it or requirements that they have to do. When it comes to child support, they may have to fill out a financial affidavit, and it's all this stuff that you have to know what's in there so you can properly serve them and explain to them what they need to do. Because a lot of times they don't know.
Wow. Well, I would imagine they've got questions. Just nothing but questions. Like, what is
constantly.
This? Why is this? What do I need to do? What's the best thing for me to do? Hopefully they're usually the door. And
usually when we start the serve paper, we tell them, if you have any questions, just ask me at the end. and
Right.
let us get through this.
Where's a
'Cause
good venue
we
for my
have
divorce
to-
party? I mean,
right.
yeah.
So there is a lot that you have to get through, and by statute, there's certain things you have to read, and you have
Right.
to read it to them, and it's hard to do if you keep getting interrupted. So you try
Sure.
to get them, hold your questions, I'll get to everything, let
Yeah.
me get through this so we can get this done, and I'll do whatever you need to
Now,
do.
we do have some civil process servers, right, that are
Correct.
not employed here, but they have to go through you or that division
Correct.
because they're certified, they're trained,
Yes,
but they're
they're-
working for private
Right,
people.
they work for private business and usually on attorneys, but they're civilian process servers, but they
Right.
get their authority through the sheriff, which in turn means that we train them and we certify them and swear them in.
Sure.
But they don't work for the sheriff, so they just
Okay.
have their authority to serve the
So someone could come to your door that is not
correct,
an employee with
and
the
they're
sheriff's
also
office
trained on how
to explain.
to explain and identify themselves when they do that.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
somebody at
Okay.
the door knows what they're there for and what they're doing.
Right,
Now,
right.
there is an art to serving these papers. I rode with Corporal Romans,
Mm-hmm.
and just watching him, he had a fat stack of papers, and he's just going one door after the next after the next. So he knows what he's serving. He's kind of preparing himself, and on top of that, he has to talk to these people in a tactful way where he's not escalating a situation where there might be, emotions that are running high because this person just got, told his life is turned upside down.
Right. And it takes a special kind of deputy that can talk and deal with people. And you also have to have a little compassion for people at certain times because depending on what we're serving or whatever, it might be bad news. But you also got to be able to take care of business when it comes time to take care of business. So you got to be pretty flexible and well-rounded to be able to do what we do.
It sounds like you need to be able to read people, which means you've been on the road. Like
Yeah,
before you go to civil, you probably want to see someone that's been on the road. They're not right out of the academy,
No.
coming right in there. You want people that are deputies that have dealt with people over and over,
Right, and
they
have
get
some
that
experience because you got
sense
to
about
be
it.
able to sense that, but you also need to be able to talk to them a lot and
Yeah.
communicate and explain stuff and try to keep them calm at the same time that you're kicking them out of their house.
Well, and also
Right.
a willingness to learn too, I would think, because the law changes constantly, all
Constantly,
the time.
yes.
And you have to keep up with that.
Right, and it changes, and we have attorneys on retainer that help us and send us memos, but we get those all the time, and
You have to take the time to
in July, October,
it.
January, all those key dates is when stuff changes. And for instance, if we want to talk about evictions, in a landlord-tenant eviction, there's 3 steps. So the first step has to be done by the landlord, and it's the notice to quit. So they got to do something or leave. And
you
then-
get 3 days.
yeah, you
with
get 3
that.
days on that one. On landlord-tenant for failure to pay is 3 days, and they either have to pay up or leave. So then the second step can be done by a civil process server or the sheriff, which is called a non-enforceable. There's no action to be taken. And that's the 5-day notice for the eviction. So you have to try and serve that in person, and you have to make at least 2 attempts, 6 hours apart. And if you can't find anybody or get anybody to the door, then you can post it.
Okay.
The new law that changed this year, well, actually last year now, was if there's an unknown tenant. So a lot of times somebody will move in and then they bring in a friend. Well, now their landlord's evicting, but they don't know who this other person
my
is.
goodness,
So they
okay.
have to do a packet to evict them. They don't know 'em. So if they're unknown, now we have to make 3 attempts, and they have to be during business hours, after business hours, and on a weekend. So you have to make 3 attempts before you can post that paper.
There's a lot
So-
of steps that they have to go through because as a road deputy, we get a lot of phone calls from people who say, hey, I let so-and-so in my house, move in a couple months ago. They've been living here, but now I want them out. Go kick them out. But can't do that.
No,
you got to go through the process.
And they'll have to go out there and assess. And deputies are pretty good at guiding and understanding, or they can all call us and we can guide them. But there is what's called transient occupancy, where they can go there and judge the situation of how long they've been there. Do they have mail coming there? Do they pay rent? Do they have their own room? Do they have a place to live somewhere other than that place? And then you weigh out those factors, and is it more in favor of the property owner or the tenant? And then they make the decision. Then either they kick them out, or no, you got to go file an eviction.
it's
to
not
the
just
court.
clear cut whether or
No.
not we can kick them out or not. There's a lot of steps.
Yeah, a lot of steps.
Oh my goodness. Okay, what if they are paying their rent, but something else in the lease they're violating?
Well,
is that a different process, or is it the same?
It's a different process, but different timelines. So in a lease violation, it could be either a 15 or a 7-day notice, depending on what it is and how many times they violated the lease, because there's landlord-tenant laws that people, before they let friends stay there, need to really read those.
Yeah.
That is
because
a big
they get
decision.
in a bind,
Yes.
and then they don't know what they have to do. And the eviction process
Sure.
is not easy. There's tons of forms, and you have to fill out the right ones for the situation that you're in order to get a court order to get them evicted.
There you go.
So-
Another example why you got to really know what you're doing.
This is why I don't
That
let
takes
anyone
time.
live with me. Not even my wife and kids. Absolutely not.
I thought it was they didn't want to.
Either way,
Okay.
I've got
either
no
way.
trouble.
All right. So another thing that you do is deal with people who are in arrears or they're behind on
Correct.
child support.
Yeah, and that's one of
And
the big things we
imagine
do.
they're all thinking they're going to go to jail and they're avoiding you like the plague.
Correct, and they do, and some don't, but we want to work with them. And what a lot of them don't know is when they get behind, if they call us or if they see our business card on the door, it says Civil Division. So they really need to call us, because we have the capability and the willingness to work with them, and they can come to the main office and bring their purge money, and we can pull the warrant right then. We can give them paperwork proving that they paid it, that we tell them to hold for at least 30 days just in case they get stopped or somebody checks them and it's not out of the system or the court system. They have proof that they paid it to us. And we also have the capability of communicating with DOR, which is the Department of Revenue, and can actually get their license reinstated for them,
So they can keep working
because
to pay the purge.
it's hard to
Yeah.
pay your purge when you're
When
in
you're in
jail and
jail.
you don't have a license to drive.
Yeah.
your
Well, and that's another thing too, is the civil division. When you guys go out and serve these papers, you're not out to put anyone in jail. You're trying to get them what they need to kind of
Correct.
move past this issue.
Right. And,
right.
you know, depending on what types of court orders, we have court orders where we have to go put people in jail, but that's usually few and far between. There's, you know, pickup orders, stuff like that. Somebody missed a court date and the judge wants to talk to them. Well, they know that. So
Yeah.
if
That
they
wouldn't
don't
be
go to
that much
court,
of a
we're going to
surprise.
go, and that's also called a writ of bodily attachment, which directs us to take this person and take them to the judge, which in
Wow.
all reality means they go to the jail and then the judge.
But it's rare. I mean,
Yes, we-
overall, you're just trying to
Yeah,
serve
we don't
some
do
papers.
near as many as those as we do other stuff,
Yeah.
child support and whatnot.
So
But
you come really as a way for them to learn about what's going on. You could be like almost like a friend. You're telling them all the information
Right.
they need to know to make this right, and so
Correct.
it
And-
is to their benefit to answer the door,
Correct,
to call
it is.
later if they
because
you know.
we can explain to them what
Sure.
they, even in an eviction, everything they need to do. But if they don't do everything that they're directed to do in the paperwork, if they just not do one thing,
right.
then they're still going to get evicted. You have to do all 5 things, and we tell them that. So when they get the paperwork, they need to open the door. If they don't, and they come home and it's posted on the door,
Yeah.
they got to know they have 5 days and read those 5 things. The first thing's on the paper,
Sure.
and when it's posted, they got to look at the date and time it's posted, because they get 5 days. But that does not include the day of service or weekends or holidays.
So if it's like a
so today's
Thursday-
Wednesday.
Okay.
So Thursday's day 1, Friday's day 2, Monday's day 3, Tuesday 4,
and
Wednesday's 5. So they got a week.
yeah.
They have a whole week
Basically, they have a
to answer, to get
week.
their answers together, reasons, or their money up so they
Sure.
can pay the court register.
Basically, this problem is not going to go away. So
No.
you need to take it on
Correct.
head on and deal with your adult problems, really.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I
Yes.
Googled something.
Hold on.
Characteristics of a civil deputy specialist.
First person to ever Google that.
Probably so. Be organized, practical, and diligent with time management.
Yeah,
Would
all
you
those
agree?
things. Yes.
You
Yes.
have to be.
We-
When you explain, you got all these papers coming at
and
you.
like I was checking through yesterday, and everybody right now is carrying between 60 and 70 papers each.
How many
so
do you serve
every-
in a day? I guess that would
It just
depend.
It depends on what types they are. We do
Sure.
evictions every single day. You know, we do all the other paperwork. You know, there's certain things on summonses. There's more time. There's not as much time. Some are dated, some are not dated.
Yeah, speaking of time,
so,
these are time-sensitive things that you have to serve
correct.
right away.
So you have to, out of all those papers they're carrying every day, they have to have that organized, so they're going after dated papers and making sure there's a priority when something's getting short. They got to try and get it again,
Right.
and if they can't get it, it's got to get back because it has to be back within a certain time frame.
So everybody over
So-
there's got to be on point,
Yes, and
doing their job.
moving all the time.
Yeah,
There
all the
is
parts have to work
no
together.
slacking over there.
Yeah, I feel like we're wasting your time now because I think you need to get on the road
I
because this
think
sounds
you probably do.
insane.
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad you said it. I've been thinking it. So,
No doubt you've been thinking it,
So-
but we're appreciative of the fact that you were here
Yeah.
as long as you've been here.
Thanks, Sarge.
Well,
we
you're
appreciate
welcome.
it. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.